Greetings and welcome to the channel. My name is Dr. Gyesie, shamanic leadership coach and guide here at Inner Mileage, where we help folks understand the trauma-informed basis of limiting self-beliefs and how to take inspired action to create resonant, happy lives right here, right now. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the empath's quiet awakening, which leads to divine union between mind, body, and spirit. So, importantly, if you're listening to this, it's not an accident. You didn't stumble here by coincidence either. This transmission is actually encoded for those who've endured fragmentation, betrayal, and spiritual abandonment, and still chose the path of quiet return. Welcome. You're not simply awakening, you are remembering. So it's important to start with what the empath's journey is like. Because the empaths often mistake their sensitivity for weakness. But the reality is your sensitivity is intelligence before you had language. And this is rooted in biology. For example, when a child is raised in an emotionally unstable, abusive, or narcissistic household, your brain becomes wired for threat. And the amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain, becomes hypervigilant, as well as the hippocampus, which is where your memory and time processor is. And that begins to loop trauma events, which is why a lot of people who go through deep, intense trauma say, I don't remember my childhood. I don't remember what happened to me. This is why. And also, the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that's responsible for high-order thinking and self-reflection, is underactivated. As a result, you find that empaths begin to apologize for existing, avoid conflict, feel responsible for other people's emotions, and importantly, attract narcissistic and or manipulative relationships. This is why it happens. It's all biology and physics. But there's a paradigm shift. And the paradigm shift is you realizing that dysregulation isn't permanent. Because as a result of taking daily micro choices such as deep breathing, journaling, trauma release work, boundaries, and even presence, the neural network begins to reorganize in a big way. This is called experience-dependent neuroplasticity. Experience-dependent neuroplasticity. In other words, your biology evolves to match your new choices. And when you choose peace instead of people-pleasing is a result of this. When you choose silence instead of explaining in unnecessary detail, that's an example. When you choose rest instead of overfunctioning, that's also an example. And the example is you're not just healing, you're actually reprogramming reality at a cellular level. And your awakening doesn't begin with an epiphany. It begins with a decision to stop abandoning yourself. So we've talked about union between mind, body, and spirit. And why does this matter? Where does this play from a neuroscientific perspective? Well, let's talk about the science of inner union. The body contains what neuroscientists call the second brain. And the second brain is the enteric nervous system in the gut, right? And it's connected to the heart and brain through the vagus nerve, which is a literal physical bridge of communication, the vagus nerve. And in trauma survivors and unawakened empaths, this bridge is often fragmented, which is why your gut might say something is wrong, but your brain says, oh, don't overreact. Or your heart wants to speak, but your throat shuts down. Or you know what to do, but don't act accordingly. So you realize that integration means rewiring this internal circuitry, right? And research from institutions like the Heart Math Institute, which measures brain-heart coherence and other things related to the heart, have proven that when the heart and brain enter coherent rhythm, particularly through breath, meditation, gratitude, or intention, the body emits a powerful electromagnetic field detectable up to 10 feet away. See, this is not a metaphor. It's not. It's actually measurable. And when an empath heals, the empath's body becomes a broadcast tower of coherence. And you begin to influence rooms not with your words, with regulated presence. You stop adapting, you started training the field, and that's what teachers mean when they say your frequency speaks before you do. You see, your frequency speaks before you do. So what is the triune or true path to union from an esoteric perspective? Well, ancient spiritual systems speak of a trinity within a human being, right? A trinity within a human being. And in ancient Egypt, that was known as Kaba'ak. So Ka being your life force, your energy. Ba being your soul or your personality. And Ak being the radiant, transfigured self, right? The goal of life then in ancient Egypt was not wealth, not approval, but fame. Not fame. But to reunite the Ka, which is your life force, the Ba, your soul, and the Ak, the transfigured self. And when this happened, the person was said to have become a Sahu, coming into Sahu pose, a light body. And I'm speaking in the ancient language of Kemet, right? All thanks and praises to Master Gyesie Rahotep. Untouched by chaos. And in Vedic thought, this is known as manas, mind, prana, life force, and the atman, the jiva atman. And these must align in harmony for spiritual relationship. Similarly, in Christian thought, this is known as the Father, which is the divine mind, the Son, the embodied being, and the Holy Spirit, the animating breath. This represents the cosmic trinity that's meant to reflect within the human temple. And in Hermetic sciences, once again, it says in the Kabbalah, that which is above is like that which is below. So the empath's awakening is not just emotional, it's a sacred trinitization of the mind, body, and the soul or not self. And when the mind seizes judgment, the body seizes panic, and the spirit seizes exile. And as a result, union happens within you, not outside you, but inside you. And the union releases codes, spiritual gifts, energy systems that were dormant but now awaken. And you begin to see through illusions, speak only when necessary, and move with divine economy of energy because the empath has returned from exile. So when the empath returns from exile, what's this inner silence that happens? What does it look like in the world? In a society addicted to validation, the silent walker, you, the awakened being, is seen as strange, even threatening. You hear things like, "You've changed. Why are you so quiet? Are you okay?" These aren't concerns. They're actually reflections of dissonance. And when your field shifts, it destabilizes those who are still addicted to the noise because they can't feel you because you've stopped leaking. And this is what's called upekkha in Buddhist psychology, which means equanimity. Upekkha being one of the 4 Brahma Viharas, or the 4 divine abodes. It's not about numbness, it's precision. And when you no longer confuse love with saving or peace with performance, you stop posting your healing, you start living it. You stop preaching your boundaries, you embody it. And suddenly your life becomes a filter because people leave, new people enter, and you realize you're no longer performing transformation, you are it. You are it. So in conclusion, quantum mechanics teaches that energy precedes matter. This is echoed in Genesis. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Sound, frequency, intention. So when the empath heals, the empath stops vibrating in trauma frequencies and begin to be stabilized in this electromagnetic field. And if any of this sounds relevant to you or I can be of help to you, type transform in the comments or send me a message at nana@innermileage.com. And realize the universe is operating under a constructive interference which begins to match your waveforms because you walk into a store and you feel safe because you're safe inside. You meet people who are already resonant with you. Opportunities flow not because you're chasing, but because you become gravitational. You're no longer a light easily taken, you're now a field. This is the divine walk. And the empath who once shattered easily now holds space for words. So at this stage, you feel misunderstood by the uninitiated, but that's okay. You don't explain love to control. You lead with tone, presence, and stillness, and you now carry ancestral codes. And in Patanjali's Samadhi, this is the final stage. Keep ascending, keep coming into union, and realize there's no one like you. Peace.